Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabley, and my co-host, Andrew Bobo, is on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. Welcome back to Matter of Facts podcast. This is, for those of you who think you're seeing this live, this is actually pre-recorded with a little bit of a post-editing magic, which probably won't make any sense until y'all realize that we are recording this on the 31st of August, and this episode's not going to release until like the middle of September, because we had to do a little bit of schedule monkeying around with to accommodate, prepper camp, night vision classes, and a variety of other things.
No night vision classes. I have it's low light classes, so you're learning how to use a flashlight properly. And Trek in the class, he breaks down handheld versus light mount or weapon mounted and all that stuff. So
Yep, but it'll be a good time. But he's doing that class the same Friday I'm going to be at prepper camp. So like Andrew and I we've had to screw around with the schedule a little bit and like pre-record some things and release them later. It's going to be wild for us, but for y'all were probably wondering why the hell I'm rambling, because to y'all, it's just like, oh, everything's been fine, just like usual. So, what have you done in prepping in the last, 3 days since we recorded last? Because it's been like that. Homeowner stuff?
Nothing. Homeowner stuff. And by homeowner stuff, really, not even that. Just been working a lot. I got more paint today. I had today off for work, so I ran to the store, grabbed more paint so I can finish my 2 walls that I ran out of paint doing. So I can finish those. I bought wood glue and everything to actually work on my. It was going to be my gun bench, but now that I don't need that, it's going to be my office table. So I bought wood glue and everything so I can glue up my my boards, get that going. And hopefully if I do it tomorrow, glue those up tomorrow, I got to go buy a sander. I could probably have it, and then I got to go buy trim for it. But I'm thinking I could probably have my office close to being, or start putting my office together in a couple weeks.
That would be exciting.
Yeah. So, and I need to get with you, figure out what panels I need to get, what sound panels for the wall. And then I need to get a rug. I need to buy an area rug for the room up there, because it's all wood floor. And then I can start doing it now. So I might start doing it tomorrow, is start pulling all my books that I have in boxes, the books that I'm going to put on the bookshelf, my flamethrower that's going to go on the shelf behind me, my AK that's going to go on the shelf behind me. Just random stuff that I'm just going to put on the shelf to kind of fill it and just kind of make it look kind of neat. I mean, I don't know. I just want it to look cool. For some reason, I've always admired when you're watching like the YouTube channels of either guns or really just any kind of YouTube channel, and they have like a really cool background, like their office looks really cool. I've always like envied that. And I always wanted a space like that. I just thought it's very intriguing to the eye, and that's, again, I guess maybe it's my graphic design background that I was in back in college and stuff. It's just very easy to watch, and it's just fun to watch to me. So I don't know, project.
Yeah, half man cave, half office.
Right.
I am still debating about putting a mount for an AR back there on that wall behind me, but for the time being, the stack of tough boxes and camping gear will suffice.
Do it. What's just like a guy at work does when I'm looking at guns online. He just goes up and he just comes up to me and says, "Do it." and he's actually talked me into buying. Well, I can't say talk me into it, but there's been a couple of times where he's like, "Do it," and I go, "Okay," and I just buy it. And that's how I got my AK.
I don't think it took much arm twisting, knowing you.
No. I'm currently looking at a CZ Scorpion. That's what I'm thinking about doing.
You got to handle mine, and now you got the itch.
Well, I have my Strybog, which I love, and I'll never get rid of it. I just want all the PCCs. But no, I think with all the stupid rules coming down the pipe with the ATF and braces and all that stuff, I'm leaning towards doing the Scorpion, SBRing the Scorpion, and keeping the Strybog in pistol format, so I can, if I need to go out of state or something like that, I don't have to get a permission slip. I mean, I guess you don't really have to get a permission slip anyway, but I want to keep my guns if I ever got caught, like
Yeah.
state. So, yeah, you got to play ball, unfortunately. Which hopefully would be nice because the NFA is getting hammered right now in court. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Not hold my breath, but
I'm not either. The only thing I really did was I finally got around to like cleaning the guns from the last range trip, which those sat for 2 days, which is uncharacteristic for me. Usually I clean them before the guns even cool off, but this time, by the time I got back from the gun range, it was boiling hot outside. I was tired. Saturday we spent helping the in-laws out with some stuff, so that had to wait until Sunday. But got the guns cleaned up. It's really like the first time I've done a substantial amount of shooting with my Scorpion. I think I put 4 mags through it, which still isn't a ton, but it's more shooting than I've done with it in a minute. And I came to a couple of conclusions. First of all, the red dot on it was, oh my God, several inches out of windage, which has been corrected. Second of all, I'm actually kind of surprised because with a straight blowback gun, I was honestly expecting like the whole action to be caked up with carbon. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, you're going to start extracting that cartridge when there's still a fair amount of pressure in the barrel. And it's just been my experience that straight blowback guns tend to run a little bit dirtier than almost anything except for a direct impingement gun like an AR, where you just take all of your gas and pipe it straight back into the action. But the gun ran pretty clean, I have to say. Like there wasn't really any. I mean, I wiped out the upper receiver.
mm-hmm.
I hit the face of the bolt with a little bit of ballistol and a nylon brush and cleaned it right up. There was more junk down in the trigger pack than there was in the action. I was pretty surprised and shocked by how clean that gun ran, which I think is also indicative of the fact that like that load I have for 9mm is a really well tuned up load. It runs great in every gun I have, and it's just not a dirty load. Like I used to have the problem with my 38 specials where that was dirty. You get unburnt powder all throughout your guns when you shoot it, but this thing has always run pretty consistently clean.
What grain?
124 grain bullet. I forget the overall length I'm loaded to. It's right at magazine limit, and it's sitting on 4.5 grains of Hodgson Universal. So it's a fairly stiff load, but it's not like burning the house down really hot.
Right.
I mean, my way of looking at it is that I know that data came out of I believe out of a Spear book, and I know from experience most of Spear's loads tend to be a little on the warm side compared to like data I've seen from Hornady or other sources. But I mean, that's just kind of the reloading game. Everybody makes their own data, everybody makes their own recipes, they all do their own testing. Spear swears up and down it's not going to blow your gun up. I say give it a whirl. But most of the time with Hornady, I find that I have to get half to 3/4 the way up in the powder in the range of powder weights before I find a round that shoots accurately, shoots cleanly, cycles the firearm well. Like, you know, like it's just been my experience that Hornady seems to be a little bit more conservative. Spear, I have never run anything but the starting loads, and they have all been fairly stiff. So it's one of those things where it's like, I would never tell a person, just slap this in your gun and go for it. I'd tell everybody the same thing. Start at the starting load, work your way up, do your homework when it comes to reloading, because it's your fingertips, your eyeballs, your guns, and your problem if it blows up. But I will say that I have shot thousands of these out of 2 CZs, a Scorpion, a Smith & Wesson Shield, and I don't even know how many other 9mm I've put this through. And it always works well. But I will say this much: Scorpion is impressing me more and more. I sunk an entire once I got the windage corrected on it at a range of about 12 yards, maybe 15. I put a whole 30 round magazine through a hole as big around as my fist. The gun just eats and it works, and I'm really really happy with it.
Have you the one thing that I try to do now, because with the AR pistol that I built, the first AR pistol that I built, it Full Metal Jacket, it ate anything FMJ, it ate flawlessly. But when it came to hollow points, it refused hollow points. The only brand that it would actually feed was Hornady, because Hornady is a little bit longer and it has it's more coned.
Yeah,
So it has that polymer insert in the tip to kind of help expansion. But yeah, so that's the one thing. One of the things that I do now with I'll do it. I did it with the Strybog, and I did it unknowingly with the Strybog. Actually, I take that back. Somebody else did it unknowingly with the Strybog. Was quick story. Jeff, my buddy Jeff, his bachelor party, we had it at the house. That's when I bought the flamethrower, and we had just a bunch of guns sitting out on the table. It's basically a bunch of friends of his came over, his dad and his uncle and stuff like that, and his father-in-law. They all came over and we were shooting guns in the backyard at my old place. And I brought the Strybog out, and I took the 30-round mag of Federal HSTs, and I sat it down away from the gun, and I had a stack of FMJ sitting there. Somebody shot the entire 30-round mag of hollow point Federal Hydroshock.
that hurts a little bit.
And I've never seen the show, but I've been seeing the meme going around, and it's from the Tiger King, when he's like, "I'm never going to financially recover from this," and that's basically what I felt, because at that point in time, that was when you were having a hard time finding some hollow points.
It was $150 a round if you could find it.
Yeah, and I saw the mag, and I'm like, just who shot this? And no one knew who shot it, because people were shooting it left and right. And I just was like, oh, well, crap. Hey, it fed right, so I'm happy it fed. So and I'm sure I'll do the same thing with the Strybog. Eventually, when I get it, I'll throw some hollow points through it, make sure it feeds fine. I'm sure it will. But yeah, the AR9, I have to do some work on it. But
I haven't honestly tried to put a single hollow point through my Scorpion, and I'm not entirely sure. At some point in the future, if I can put hands on a 500 round case of Federal HST, which is kind of my go-to 9mm round,
yeah,
I would put a magazine through it and see if I can get it to run reliably. And if I could, I'd probably load up 3-4 mags worth. But it's not an enormous priority, because I always have to go back to this idea that I know somebody out there is already firing up their keyboard fingers to tell me how wrong I am, but comparing the round that I'm already shooting, and I know what it's supposed to do. I haven't managed to chrono it out of a 4.5-inch, 4-inch barrel from a handgun, and I know it should be picking up a fair bit of velocity in a 7 3/4-inch barrel, which is what the Scorpion has. I don't feel like the inability, the lack of a hollow point when I can put 3, 4, 5 rounds on target in the same amount of time as 1 or 2 with a handgun, puts me at that big of a disadvantage. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
I mean, look at it like this. If I handed you an AR, and I understand that's an intermediate rifle cartridge, much more velocity, smaller, lighter bullet. But if I handed you an AR-15 with 55 grain 5.56, you wouldn't stop and think twice about, oh, are these hollow points or not? Because it's going to friggin' go off like a bomb when it hits soft tissue.
Well, I guess it all depends on the application that you're using it in too. I mean, if it's a self-defense application, I mean, Full Metal Jacket is is what you want because over penetration, which it kind of leads us into our main topic of the show, which is the great gun debates. And so we have a list of gun debates that we kind of both threw together. You mostly, since you're smarter and you can think of a lot more than me. But
Don't start. I brainstormed all this junk weeks or months ago. Like,
right,
don't give me credit like, oh, I thought this up on the spur of the moment. This is a topic I've had lying around for a while. We just haven't gotten to it until now.
right. No, so the great gun debate, and I know there's a crap ton of gun debates out there.
We
But
skipped caliber debates completely because
Yeah.
that's a whole nother show.
oh yeah, especially yeah. So I mean, let's just get into the first one, which is oops, we both hit it at the same time. So blow your wad or more bang for your buck. We got these people that if you go on to the AR-15 forums, they're like, oh man, Daniel defense all day long. I'm gonna get this $2,000, $3,000 rifle, and someone who builds their stuff, or even if it's like a Anderson Manufacturing, which the lowers are like $40, versus like a Spikes Tactical or BCM or something like that. I'm more for. I mean, if you have the money, if money is not an option, blow it all. Like just get the top of the line, whatever you can afford. But for the average Joe and I think honestly the average gun owner, I would say more bang for your buck. And I mean, do your research and find out what's reliable. Find out why certain parts maybe aren't reliable. I mean, some people have issues with Anderson Manufacturing because they say that the quality control isn't as good as BCM or Spikes or something. But honestly, I have a Anderson lower rifle made out. Actually, yeah, I have a rifle made out of an Anderson lower and an Anderson upper, and I have never had issues with it. Trek actually has a Anderson Manufacturing, like a rifle. I believe it's a lower and upper and stuff like that, similar, that he runs because he'll get people at classes that are like, I have this expensive rifle, and he's like, I have this Anderson Manufacturing thing, and it's running just fine. And he has it specifically. I remember one of his classes when I first met him, he had it, and he was saying like, yeah, I run it in classes just to show like you can piece together a pretty reasonable price build that won't break the bank, and it'll run if you do it right. If you get quality, you get springs, and you put it together and you know what you're doing, it'll run. So I'm more for bang for your buck.
I kind of have a middle of the road opinion on this because I am, and this is not just guns. This is just like Phil Philosophy 101. I will happily spend money and not think twice about it if I know I am buying better quality. Like, take the truck purchase, for example. Several years ago when I was looking to replace my daily driver, Toyota Tacomas were in my price range. I know Toyota Tacomas are very reliable. They're very tough. They have great history and records of longevity. And it's a Toyota. And I've previously owned a Toyota pickup. My father owned a Tacoma, so I kind of knew what I was buying. Now, we all know what Toyota tax is. You are looking at Toyota Tacomas, and you know what Toyota tax is. Like, the truck that is in my driveway right now, right today, I could take to any used car dealership in the city and probably get about 25 grand for the thing. It has 50,000 miles more than when I bought it, and I bought it for 20. Now, we are in kind of a weird little microcosm economy where used car prices are going up in many cases. But the fact of the matter is, Toyota still cost a premium, and I knew that going into it, but I feel like I'm getting more. So, applying that to guns, I spent the extra money to get Aero Precision uppers and lowers when I was building my ARs. I spent the extra money to get ALG triggers versus whatever the cheapest Chinese bargain basement AR triggers were. I didn't spend the money on Geisley. Geisley makes awesome triggers. Timney makes awesome triggers. But at the time, I was like, I know I'm giving up some performance with an ALG, but I know I'm buying for just a couple of bucks more better performance than I'll get out of a mil-spec trigger. Right. So to me, there's always the trade-off is always, it's never a go all in with a wallet or buy the cheapest stuff. It is there enough justification here to justify me spending the extra dollars? The difference in quality between Anderson and Aero Precision absolutely to me justify the extra money, and I have no regrets. Getting the Toolcraft bolt with the nickel boron coating, don't feel bad about it. Awesome equipment, awesome parts, been very reliable for me. Haven't had any problems, haven't had any weird wear patterns on them. They've been great. Much cheaper than a lot of the other bolt carrier group options out there, more expensive than some. So I guess my point of view is always like, to me, it's less about the money spent. It's more about, are you truly buying more with your dollar? And if the answer is yes, then there's a good argument to be made. You spend the extra money. You get the Toyota instead of the whatever. But if you're not getting more for your money, then I just can't justify spending more money just to say I got a Daniel Defense or a War Sport or a whatever makes all the internet cool guys just get weak in the knees. I just don't give a damn. Like, I would happily have a room full of Palmetto State Armory poverty ponies if it fit my need. And if the difference in price and performance between that and the next option up didn't justify the purchase.
Right.
In my opinion, when you look at PSA, when you look at some of your truly more budget ARs, you don't have to spend tremendously more money to get much better performance and reliability.
But that's also where I say bang for your buck, because if you, and I mean, I guess you can take it multiple different ways, but like, I mean, I believe in the Toolcraft bolt carrier group. I believe in the Aero Precision lower and uppers. I have multiple guns. My AR-10, my 308 is all AR or Aero rather. My AR-15 is Aero upper and lower and rail, stuff like that. And so, I mean, and that's where I'm saying best, the bang for your buck, because I mean, that's the thing is, I guess if you can afford, and I've gotten into arguments when I was on Facebook a lot more.
Inevitably.
Arguments because with people online with this, because it was like, this guy would post, it was on Facebook, you have the AR-15 groups and all that stuff, and someone would be like, hey, I just built my first gun. I'm looking at taking some classes or doing this, and this. This is it. Here it is. It's an Anderson Manufacturing lower. This is the upper. This is how I piece it together. And people would honestly just complete shit over it because they're like, oh, it's not a Noveski. It's not a Daniel Defense. It's not this, and this. And my whole thing is like, I don't care whether you went to the store and you bought a Ruger 5.56 or an MMP 15, or you pieced it together with Aero Precision, best of the whatever parts you have, the best. I don't care what you have. Can you run it? If you are accurate with it and you can run it, I don't give a crap what brand rifle you have, really. Because one, I'm not shooting it. I'll be shooting my own. And two, if it blows up in your face because it sucks, sorry about your luck. Hopefully you have a spare, or I'm sure there's going to be some laying on the ground around the battlefield. Pick up, as long as you're not hurt or dead from it exploding. But yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at though. That's bang for your buck.
Before we move on, though, I have one thing to throw into this. For many, many decades, we've been sending young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kids into combat zones with, let's call it what it is, the average M16A2 or A1 that was issued to a young private in any of the armed services and any conflict M16s have been used in is a black anodized turd. They are not well cared for. They are not well maintained. They have been thrown around in the mud. They've been mistreated and abused and neglected by privates. And I used to be one. So trust me, if you're the one guy that says, oh no, I took care of my weapon like my life depended on it, I'm going to tell you you're an anomaly, because the average private, especially non-combat arms private, doesn't give a damn about that rifle. It's a stupid, aggravating thing they have to haul around behind them while they're trying to do, quote unquote, their real jobs, which is admin or cook or mechanic or whatever else they're doing that's super important, but it has nothing to do with that M16 they have to carry around. And we send kids into battle with these things all the time. The one I had was basically a freaking bolt action because it ran so horribly. The one I had in Iraq. Listen to me. You get the least tiniest little bit of dust or dirt, and this was Iraq, into that freaking action, and it just did not want to behave itself, didn't want to run. And if you oil it, God forbid, then you had oily dirt and dust slowing the game down. So I had to run that gun dry. I mean, most of my misgivings about the AR platform when I first came out of the military are a direct result of that turd I had to carry around. I would take either one of the ARs I've built since then and put them head to head with almost any M16 in a military arsenal right here and now for a torture test. And I bet mine would run better because they're
Well,
better maintained, they're better assembled, they're better
yeah.
cared for, and they were assembled by a person more knowledgeable than the idiot 18-year-old private that I used to be a long time ago. So I guess this is a way of saying mil spec is nothing to brag about.
Well, I was just gonna say that, like, the idea of the quote unquote mil spec, or people who say, "Well, my gun is mil spec," that says nothing.
Made by the lowest bidder.
Right.
Good
And
job,
the
guy.
thing is, like, I mean, and that's the thing that's what's nice about when I build AR-15s for when I help people build them, or I built my own versus building like my AR-10. Like, I ran into more headaches with my AR-10 because there's no spec. There's no minimum specification for AR-10. There's a
Well,
couple.
there's
There's
multiple
DPMS.
specs is the problem.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's DPMS. There's and like Armalite, basically, are the two major ones. And then you have the AR-15 though, which it says mil spec. So all that says is those parts are to military specification. So so as long, like, those should fit any AR-15. You can fit any AR-15 mil spec, quote unquote. Yeah,
It should
and
fit.
I should be able to swap parts as much as I want to, and they should fit. That being said, when I'm looking at trigger groups, like I put ALG triggers in a couple of mine. I put some drop-in CMG triggers, stuff like that. Like, I think in my AR-10 I have a 2-stage. I spent the money. I spent the money and I put a just brain fart.
Geisley,
Geisley.
Timney,
Yeah,
Geisley.
Geisley. I put a Geisley 2-stage match trigger in my 308. Like that, I love that trigger is amazing. And it's, you look on the thing and it says mil spec, or 2 mil spec, but anybody who knows Geisley or knows anything about Geisley, like, he takes mil spec and he's like, hold my beer, I'm going to go above and beyond. And that's what you want. So if you're listening to this and you've never built a gun before and you want to know what the difference with mil spec and not mil spec is, or whatever, or just mil spec, if you can find a part, if you're looking for parts and they just say, oh, it's something mil spec, look for something else. If that's all you can afford, okay, do it. But look for something else. Go scour the website, try to find something that is above and beyond. Like, it'll and sometimes in the description it'll say that it is it is to mil spec, but this and this or whatever. Certain coatings, polishes, all that stuff. Like, it makes a big difference. So
Yep. Next on the docket, and you can't say both.
I have both.
Nope, can't say both. Got to head that one off the pass.
Yeah, I know.
Because Andrew's just gonna say, "I want all the guns."
I know. I want all the guns.
No. I do too.
AR. I love my AK, but if I had to take one and only one, it'd be my AR. ARs. I mean, I know AKs are they're used a lot in the United States for sporting and and everything, and some hunting, but because of that round. But AR, hands down, because you're going to find parts more readily available. The tolerances are a lot tighter to where like, there was a torture test done, AR versus AK, and the AR did beat the AK out in certain instances, because the tighter tolerances with how close that bolt carrier group is in the upper receiver. It didn't let a lot of dirt and mud and grit inside of that. If you compromise the mag, that will add feeding issues. But I think if you compromise the mag in an AK, you're gonna get feeding issues too. So I think, and that's really any gun if you compromise the mag. But yeah, hands down, AR.
Same. AR, 110%. Somebody out there is
accuracy.
Actually, I will push back against
Yeah.
accuracy. In my experience, most of the accuracy issues out of AKs are down to the fact that most people want to shoot them like they're from Ethiopia with it up over their head in the Afghani stance. Or you get people that want to hip fire the silly things, like I saw at the gun range recently. I mean, like straight up Rambo hip firing the thing. And
Real bump stock.
well, and then you get people that, but well, I will readily admit the open sights on, like the traditional iron sights on most ARs. I think M16A1, M16A2, the little peep, and the very precise front post. Those are sights that tend to encourage very tight grouping. It is a sight that is really derived from precision shooting. If you look at like Olympic class, like triathlons and shooters, they use a very similar, very small front post diopter in the back. It just works well. AKs, on the other hand, use an open topped blade. Now, that is a sight that does encourage rapid target acquisition and an open field because the whole top of the sight is unobscured. So even when you're looking down the sights, you still have full peripheral vision. You can see around your target, but it is not a sighting system that naturally lends itself as much as the AR sights do to pinpoint accuracy. The round is not really. I mean, although I don't even want to talk about the ammunition because then you're getting into the differences between mil-spec ammo, which is expected to have like a 3 MOA, accuracy versus stuff we can hand load, and that's not a fair comparison. And M16 barrels, assuming they're not shot to crap, which a lot of them are. I mean, they can be fairly accurate, and AKs were just never designed to have the same accuracy potential or expectation that ARs do. So they're different weapon systems for different uses, but I will say that AKs can be deceivingly accurate. The biggest problem is most people don't try to make them accurate. I've got a red dot on mine. I've shot some pretty respectable groups at 100 yards with mine. I have no complaints about accuracy or functionality or anything else. My only issue comes down to spare parts are hard to get in this country. If I manage to break the bolt on my AK, I will never be able to replace it because I have a Saiga, and it is that weird combination of a narrow bolt stem, which is typically found on the AK-74, but it's chambered for 7.62 by 39. So I have an extraordinarily rare bolt in that gun that I cannot replace in this country for any money. Parts are harder to find, magazines are less available, ammunition's harder to come by, and knowledge base is much less on the AK in this country. If I am in Eastern Europe or Sub-Saharan Africa, give me the freaking AK every day of the week, twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
But in this country, I'm going to go with ARs. I mean, there is a reason why I took the AK out of home defense role and I demoted it down to range toy. I'll never get rid of it. It's fun to shoot. It's a hoot to put a freaking RPK drum in that thing and just let it rip at the range until the barrel starts smoking. But it's not a primary home defense gun for me, and it never will be. Because I like the idea that anywhere in the country I go, I am liable to find ammunition and mags to support that firearm and parts. And I cannot say that with an AK. Again, my specific AK, I have a bolt that I can't replace.
Right.
Should never need it, hopefully.
Right.
But like if that bolt ever gets damaged, I can't replace it.
Right. The other thing I have AR versus AK really is, and so at one point my AK, it was becoming a project gun to where I was gonna like trick it out with that, because, and that's the thing though, is recently, probably in the last 5 years, I want to say, I want to say about 5 years, you've been really seeing a lot of companies coming out with AK parts.
Mm-hmm. The AK has definitely matured in the last 5 years.
Yeah, and so you've been seeing, and my biggest complaint is because the AK is so, like, watch slow motion footage of an AR cycling, and then watch slow motion of the AK, and watch and look and see how many parts of the AK actually move, like separate and everything. Like, it's crazy. It's insane how much of it separates. And I mean, that's the thing though, is it shakes everything out. If any dust or dirt gets inside of it, I feel like it definitely would shake it out to a point. But that's the issue though, is an AK versus AR is you're very limited with an AK. You're limited on where your sight can be placed. Unless you spend extra money and you get like the top cover, where the top cover is actually secured down. I've actually been seeing more and more of those where people have been putting red dots and stuff like that, and closer onto the front, onto the top cover.
Pro tip: don't do that.
Well, so like I said, the only time, because it moves like that moves, but they've been coming out with covers that actually are made to where like they're down, they're pretty tight.
Don't care.
Right.
The problem with an AK is the dust cover has to come off for cleaning.
Right.
And you are never going to convince me that you can take something on and off that firearm that often and not lose zero sooner or later. The two mounting solutions I tend to recommend are RS Regulate. They make if you have the optic mount on the left side of your receiver, which a lot of AKs out there do, they make mounts for those that you can put a scope on, a red dot, whatever you want. They've got all the options to suit you, and that is known to return to zero. Or you get an Ultimac, which I have, which replaces the gas tube. And that actually has two blocks that attach, they don't just depend on the Ultimac's or the gas tube mounting points at the front of the gas block and the rear sight block, but they also attach to the barrel itself with some U-bolts and blocks. So that's never coming off unless I like physically disassemble the gun. That I trust to hold zero. In my experience,
Right.
it is holding zero. It has for a while. I have actually kind of wanted to take that red dot off there because it's a really cheap red dot, and it gets a little warm right there on the gas tube baking.
Well,
but that's neither here nor there. The only time I would like not push back hard against somebody putting a red dot on an AK's dust cover is if it's like on one of the Krink style guns where it's a hinged dust cover.
That's what, I was just going to say that. And that's what they're the ones that I've been seeing that have been coming out a lot more of is it's a hinge style dust cover, so it actually folds up. It doesn't like remove and you can take it and say yeet it, across the room. But
better, but it still gives me the willies.
You're still going to want to check zero, make sure. But again, that's why I'm saying the AR versus the AK is the AR. You have the top rail that doesn't move, and I mean, unless you throw it on the ground and actually damage the optic, you're not going to. Or you actually take the optic off and you forget what rail space that you put it in, the originally. So yeah, no, I AR, like I said, hands down. But let's move on. I just threw this one here because I know I know Gillian has bolt. She's deadly with a bolt action.
She's actually has a semi-auto.
Her semi-auto. I thought she had a bolt.
Nope. Her 30-06 is a Remington 74 auto. So it is basically a Hunter BAR.
Nice.
Loads out of like a 3, 4, maybe a 5-shot magazine. They're detachable box magazine. I don't recall off the top of my head. It's a little short double column magazine, and
probably
it's
5.
It might be 5. I haven't had it out the safe in a very long time, and she's the only one that shoots it. I don't care for the thing, and if memory serves me, I think it's actually recoil. It's a recoil actuated gun. I don't know. I'd have to pull it out and fool with it. But the point is, it is a my lovely little wife, who, by the way, does not like recoil, shoots a semi-automatic 30-06 hunting rifle.
Nice.
Let that marinate for a minute. But yeah, she has a semi-auto, and that was her Sweet 16 present from her father. And I have a .308 Winchester bolt action. I'm assuming we're limiting this conversation to kind of like hunting rifles, or do we just want to go wide open with it?
I mean, you could go. Accuracy rifles, because you have some of them like you have some high end like Ruger rifles that they're bolt action.
If we're talking about If we're
You
talking about accuracy, I'm going to say bolt action every single time for a
yeah,
couple of slight reasons. It is absolutely possible to make a semi-automatic as if not more accurate than a bolt action. That's possible. It's neither easy nor is it cheap. Semi-autos have a lot of things working against them to get the repeatability and consistency that a bolt action can give you. And in the use case you're giving me where accuracy is king, there is absolutely no requirement for follow up shots that will exceed what you can do with a bolt action, in my opinion. It takes you longer to get back behind the scope than it does to whack that bolt handle backwards and forwards if you're well practiced to get that second shot chambered. So I say bolt action.
yeah,
That's me in a nutshell.
yeah. No, hands down, bolt action. I mean, I have a lot of semi-autos. I have some lever actions, which we could actually get into that discussion too. But I have my 6.5 Creedmoor, my Savage 110. That thing out of the box. I've never. The only thing I messed with on it is um, the it came with the length of pull. So it came with all the parts to adjust length of pull and cheek rest, and that's all I messed with it. It has the ability to I can mess with the trigger if I want to, but otherwise I've not done that. But I was having some issues with it because it was off. I don't know if the scope got bumped or what happened with it, but I went to the range and it was off, and I dialed it in, redialed it in, and walked it, and it was. I mean, I think I put 3 rounds within an inch or so, and I mean they were it with that Savage, and it's just to me a Savage, not just Savage, but to me a bolt action is, um, I don't know, something about it. It's soothing. It I don't know. There's something about it. I don't know what it is. I can't describe it. But when I get behind a bolt action versus a semi-auto, maybe it's just because you're like, oh man, a semi-auto, I can just pull this trigger and bang, 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 and do whatever, yell America. But with a bolt action, for some reason, to me, it takes just more concentration. It just takes more. It's more
More mental.
mental. I don't know what the proper wording is for it, but it's um I don't.
You'll
Primal is not the right word for it, but when you get behind a bolt action rifle, like you're behind a rifle platform that's been around for.
since
I
the
mean,
19th century.
yeah, it's one of the original platforms that has been around, and so it's
I,
kind of like when you get behind a bolt action rifle, it's like, wow, I'm kind of it's something. I'm behind something that my ancestors shot, not a gun, not that gun, but that platform.
I know what you mean. The nostalgia is there.
Yeah.
I refer to bolt action. I refer to precision shooting with a bolt action, which I'm not necessarily saying precision long range, but
Mhm.
even at 100 yards, just the goal of slowly, carefully working on your breathing, working on the fundamentals, trying to get the smallest group possible. I call it meditation for gun guys
Mhm.
because if I'm having a day and I just want to go out and have like quiet time, I go out to the range. I double up my hearing protection so I cannot hear a damn thing being said around me. Roll out that shooting mat, lay down in the prone, pull out my little box of 168 grain Sierra Match Kings that I've hand loaded every last one of them, weighed every single charge, seated every bullet, measured every one. I know these rounds backwards and forwards, and I know that if I don't do something stupid, they'll make a 3/4 inch hole at 100 yards.
Mhm.
And I just sit there and just one at a time send them down range.
Yeah.
Try to make that tiny little try to make all those little holes touch each other. And there's just something incredibly methodical and relaxing about it because like it forces you to slow down and really pay attention to things about your stance and your grip and your breathing and just things you don't pay attention to with a semi-auto. Like you said, with a semi-auto, you just pull the trigger again. You ride the lightning. It's fun. But precision shooting with a bolt action, it's such a it's meditation for
Yeah.
me.
And that's what and the more I've shot my 6.5, and I mean that's an expensive round to shoot, but the more I've shot it, the more I've actually been looking into classes up here in Michigan. There's a school up it's up about an hour or hour and a half, give or take. I can't remember exactly the name of the range, but they have a couple 1,000-yard ranges, and
Nice.
they offer bolt action precision classes. And the first class, I was reading on it, and every once in a while I go to the website. I'm like, I need to sign up for it, and I just never do. But I read on the very first class. The first class you take, you don't fire around. It's all about like
Classwork.
understanding your scope, understanding what dope is, understanding your just what scope you have and how to adjust it, like understanding everything about this gun. And I mean, from my understanding and reading on the brief and stuff, like you really don't fire around. Is there opportunity to do that? Yes, but I really want to. I've never fired out past 200 yards, and I really want to take my 6.5, and I really want to stretch it out because I know it can hit 1,000, and I really want to take that and get that ability to do that. I would love to be able to not master it because to me I'll never master it, but to do it I want to be able to do it. And with the bolt action, I think you can. With semi-auto you can too, but I think a bolt action, just something about it makes it just you can do it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I haven't had the chance to shoot at 1,000 yards, and that just sounds like too much fun to me. So I feel like this is probably one we should go through quickly because, damn it, we beat this one to death.
Yeah.
Like, do I even have to discuss what an absolute joke Andrew and I both feel like the concealed carry course requirements are? Like everything from the course of like specific to the course of fire. The classwork is all fine and well. I think it's probably could be condensed down to like 45 minutes to an hour at the most if we're being honest with each other. But the course of fire here in Louisiana is you have to shoot at 5, 10, and 15 feet on a torso sized target. And I literally completed the course of fire here for the Louisiana CPL without using my sights. It's a joke. And if that is the greatest level of handgun mastery you attain before you think you are ready to charge out in the world and defend yourself like Andy Oakley or Wyatt Earp, you are going to get effing smoked. Or you're going to burn somebody down you didn't mean to. So please, for the love of God, if you have a CPL and you think you're ready to rock and roll, at a bare minimum, go to the gun range with a buddy who has a vicious sense of humor and a brutal set of honesty, who can tell you how bad you suck and help you do some self improvement. Or better yet, find a real instructor.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I know a lot of people they've taken the CPO class, and I mean, they shoot on their own quite a bit and everything, and and they're good shots. But I really feel like a CPL class, or in some states it's CCW. But I really feel like it's a good one to kind of open your eyes and get some of like the legalese out of the way, like understand like legally carrying a firearm. Now, do I believe you need a CPL class or anything like that? No, I think it's a crock of crap that we even have to take these classes because constitutionally we shouldn't have to. But that being said, if you want to carry a firearm, I highly suggest, like, again, I'm not going to tell you you have to because that's wrong, but I highly suggest like go take a class. You're gonna get humbled, and your eyes are gonna get woken or get opened because I think you're gonna learn a lot. And there's a lot of instructors out there. Again, vet them. I mean, of course, I want to recommend Trek and the crew at MDFI because they don't teach CPL classes, but if you take, I've taken basic handgun now twice, I want to say, and then a class that they actually have trademarked. It's called "You Suck, It's Not the Gun,"
Mm-hmm.
which um, that class. it opened my eyes on on some things.
Ego check, huh?
And it taught me a lot. It was "You Suck, It's Not the Gun" that I became a firm believer, and I will never, if I have a choice, I will never ever use night sights ever again. I'll never put tritium. I'll never put glow. I'll never put night sights on my pistol.
Out of curiosity, why?
Blackout. I just straight blacked out sights. Well, so what I found, and Trek has had this across a ton of students. He's got this down to a science basically. But so in the "You Suck, It's Not the Gun" class, I was actually shooting my CZ SP01. So this SP01, it comes with suppressor height sights, and they're tritium. I was shooting high, and Trek comes over to me and he goes, "You're shooting high. What's going on?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I'm like, "I feel like I'm lining my sights up. You can see my group, but my group is high." And he goes, take your pistol up. Show him, or pull your pistol up. So I pull my pistol up. I'm looking down the sights, and he goes, "What do you see?" And I said, "I'm lining my sights up." He goes, "Okay." He goes, "That tritium dot on your front sight, where's that at?" That top of that dot. So when you line your sights up, if I can do this when people aren't really seeing, but when you line your sights up, you're supposed to have your two prong, your two sights in the back or whatever, the prong or the towers or whatever you want to call them, and then you have the one in the front on the very front of your gun. You line those up to where they're equal light on both sides of that, and then equal height, so they're actually flat. What Trek has found is people who have that sight, that tritium or that glow sight, is they take, because you have a little bit of a space from your the top of that sight to the top of that circle. They actually take the top of the circle and they bring it up a little bit so it actually lays flat across. So it lays flat across the plane. So you're actually pulling your shot up. They took a black marker, like a black paint marker. They blacked out all three tritium spots on my pistol, and immediately it went from here down.
That's kind of impressive, actually.
Yeah.
I've never seen that personally, but
Yep. Yeah. And so from now on, and that my carry pistol, my MMP that I have, blacked out sights. I think, the CZ that I have never uncovered. I have yet to uncover the tritium on the sights. They're blacked out. The pistol that I'm going to start carrying soon, it's going to be my MMP 9C, the first gen. That's got a fiber optic, like a front. But I'm going to replace that with a blacked out front. I swear by it. And that's what actually they found that with many classes across the board with students and even cops that come in their police that come into their classes and stuff. Across the board, they've had people same exact things to me. They black out that front sight, and bam, comes right down, and they're drilling. Because and I just want to throw this out there really quick because like Trek said, he goes, that front sight, he's like, it's hard to argue with because that front sight, it's doing what it's supposed to do. You're finding that front sight, but then you're bringing it up a little bit because your eye wants to make it level. So striker fired or hammer?
Hammer all day long, every day, twice on Sunday.
Why?
Call me a FUD. Call me old. I have never in my life.
You're old and you're a FUD.
Piss off. I have never, and I've shot a handful, so I'm not saying I've shot them all. I have never felt a striker fire trigger as good as what I get on hammer fired guns. I started off in 1911s, and I'm spoiled from that, and I understand that, and I transitioned to CZs, which are double action, single action, hammer fired guns, and the other firearms I shoot are double action or double action, single action revolvers. I'm sorry, I like hammer fired guns. I do not own a single striker fired gun. My wife has a shield and loves it, and I don't. Don't like them. Don't care for them. Don't like the way the triggers feel. No, there is no objective, well thought out, like gun tuber type of answer for this. It's just I don't like them. I don't like the way they feel, and I can't be talked into it.
Hmm. I'm gonna go striker fired. I love
I'll
hammer
buy that SPO1 off you.
fire. $2,000.
Nah, you don't like though. You don't like hammer fired guns. Come on, man.
No, I never said I didn't like them. For carrying, I mean, I'll carry my SPO1, and I'll carry it because it doesn't have a safety. It's hammer, which is I do like it. But no, I striker fired. I just something about striker fire. I like the trigger. Now if you're looking at like, whoop,
Your camera dropped out.
I think my camera died. It'll switch over to. It'll switch over soon. But yeah, so no, striker fired. There you go. Striker fired though, like I said. I like the way the trigger is. Now, what's funny is the thing about striker fire versus hammer too is striker fire though. Like I've never really met a lot of people that want to go and get a hammer fired pistol and then swap the triggers out, like Glocks and MMPs and stuff like that. You know, a lot of people want to swap the triggers out because the pull's too hard or something. It's mushy, whatever it is. But I don't know. I mean, like my SPO1, it doesn't have a safety. 1911s have a thumb safety. A lot of hammer fired pistols have, a lot of them have safeties, like thumb safeties and stuff like that. My biggest thing against it is just the fear that, like, I don't carry my 1911 because I don't train with it. One, it's old, but two, I don't train with it. And when shit hits the fan and you pull that gun, your adrenaline is going so hard, so strong that your fine motor skills go out the window. And if you don't train with it, then the ability of you clicking that safety off might go out the window.
I don't buy that.
I do. I don't.
I think if you train, look, I've trained both ways on hammer fired guns. I've trained to use manual safeties. I got away from it, and I've gone to decocking the guns and using double action for the first shot. I've heard every one of these arguments about how double action, single action guns are antiquated, have no place in a modern holster, because when the adrenaline starts surging and blah 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 blah, you're not going to be able to manage two different trigger pulls and yada yada yada, and it's bullcrap.
No, I think
I'm not saying.
I think you can manage the two different trigger pulls.
You can manage the manual safety too. It comes down to training, though.
Oh no, if you don't train with it,
yeah,
that's why I don't carry my 1911 with the manual safety, because I don't train with it.
I don't carry mine anymore either.
Right.
But then again, back when that was my primary home defense gun, I trained over and over and over and over. That is literally as soon as the gun halfway cleared the holster, the safety was off.
Right.
So I mean, I always go back to the idea that whenever somebody says gross motor skill, yada yada yada, you can't do these things when your adrenaline soaks your brain. Again, didn't spend time in the infantry or special operations doing any cool guy stuff, but I've been in enough life or death situations in my life to know that you will fall back to the lowest level of training you've mastered. And if you put in the training reps to get that safety off consistently, your thumb will do it without your brain even sending the signal, because your subconscious knows the gun comes up, the safety comes off.
Right.
So if you choose not to put in the reps to make yourself able to do that subconsciously, unconsciously, that is a training failure, not a hammer-fired, striker-fired issue.
No, I get that.
One thing I will happily admit about striker-fired guns versus hammer-fired, though, is if you have a little bit of tactical muffin top like I do, my prepper belly, the beaver tail and that hammer spur will freaking like puncture your skin just about after a hard day of carrying that gun.
Yeah.
I will happily admit if I'm out doing yard work or whatever, I ditch that double stack 9mm and I get my little double action only 5-shot J frame because the back of it is nice and smooth and there's no hammer spur sticking out. It's just a more comfortable carry gun, and like I will give that to striker fired guns every day of the week. Every day of the week, the absence of a hammer and the absence of an accompanying beaver tail, they're so much more comfortable to carry. But I still don't like shooting them.
When you guys come up here and visit, we'll have to go shoot some of mine.
Dot or no dot, irons with dots or no. I'm gonna be honest. Like not too long ago, I would have. Okay, are we talking about? I assume we're talking about on handguns, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna be real honest. A couple of months ago, I'd have said no dots. I was still like in that I'm hesitant to put electronic things on my handguns, and I don't know. I've done a ton of research and a ton of looking into them and a ton of talking to people that shoot them, and I've been swayed. I say yeah, dots on handguns if you can fit them and if they fit your use situation. I mean,
Why? So I'm curious. Why were you hesitant on putting an electronic sight on your handgun?
purely reliability.
Mm-hmm.
Because unlike putting that same electronic sight on to a semi-automatic rifle, when you put it on the slide of a handgun, it's going to get the snot kicked out of it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to move very violently, and at the extreme ends of each slide travel, it's going to stop suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just an environment that it doesn't take a rocket surgeon to realize that's going to beat the crap out of that optic. I'm seeing now that they're becoming more commonplace. They are becoming like the fact that they are reliable enough is becoming more and more obvious. There are failures. That's going to happen. But, you know, I can remember several people mentioning to me that the little plastic sights that come in their Glocks, like those worked their way loose and were halfway out of the dovetail, and people didn't throw Glocks out in the trash and say, well, the sights are made of plastic and they come loose. They just fixed the problem.
Right.
So I've come around on this whole dots on handguns thing. I don't know that I would do it for my primary carry gun because of the additional size being added to an already double stacked 9mm that I have to carry under a t-shirt. But on my on like my big CZ that stays on my war belt, where size is not an issue, I could totally justify that. The only thing I'm really fighting with is I've got to do some measuring and figure out if I can modify that level 2 duty holster for the retention hood, if it will even clear. Because like I can cut away the Kydex and modify that holster to fit the red dot. All I have to do is really just take down the front of it some so there's room. But I'm worried that the hood is not going to be able to, clear the top of the red dot. So it's going to have to be a fairly small dot to fit. Those are like the only things I'm really fighting with still. Like I have a holster that was never meant to accommodate a red dot on a handgun, and unfortunately CZP09s with red dots and Surefire S300s, there's just not a lot of people out there making duty holsters for them. So I have to buy the closest thing that fits my need and then be prepared to chop it, mold it, burn it, melt it, whatever I have to do to make it work.
Okay, and then so the second part, irons with your dots.
You and I are gonna disagree about this.
So, but see, the thing is, okay, go ahead.
I'm not. I would say front sight post 110%. Rear sight, I could kind of take or leave with a good red dot. And Andrew and I don't think we really agree on this. I think we agree on the front sight post part.
Well, yeah.
The front sight post gives you an index point when you're presenting the firearm to make sure you get the gun pointed close enough in the direction of your target that you can actually find the dot. Because the problem is without that front sight post, if you twist that gun 10 degrees in any direction, you don't see the dot. You don't know which way to go to find it. You're chasing a red dot in the dark. And the front sight post, if you index the front sight post towards the target, that's going to put the red dot close enough to the right orientation, you're going to find the dot.
Hmm.
The rear sight, to me, only exists if the red dot dies.
Right. And so
And so,
my argument to you is you completely contradicted yourself.
how so?
Well, so you're saying that before with the red dots and stuff like that, you were very hesitant on the whole red dot game because of putting electronics that could fail on on your pistol. But then the reason why I am a firm believer with keeping your backup sights is just like this. So this is my carry pistol. This is my if I'm not working, or actually I carry this when I go to work. I carry this. This is my MMP 9C with a Trijicon SRO on top. This used to be the SRO used to be an RMR. I bought the SRO. RMR went on my shotgun, which is just stupid cheating, but that's a whole nother story. But I kept the iron sights, backup sights. I had them milled in. I paid extra for it. Had them milled in, not because I'm going to use them, but just in case my red dot dies. So if it dies, it gets damaged, something happens, gets struck by lightning. I don't care what it does. If I cannot use my red dot, I have my backup sights. And I understand like front sight focus and stuff like that, but if you go back to your training and you go back to your line your sights up, and if you don't have that rear sight, to me it's your sights are your sight. I mean, I understand like the whole thing of like what you were saying with that it helps you find that red dot. But coming from experience, coming from somebody who shot my entire life with iron sights, and I just recently started a year ago. I started carrying red dots. I got my pistol milled for the RMR, and so I've been carrying a red dot now for just over a year. And practice and training, just like what we discussed with 1911s and striker fired versus hammer, you will if you come up and you get that natural point of aim and you pull that pistol up, that dot will always be in your line of fire.
Okay, so for clarification, are you saying the rear sight is essential if you have to take the dot off the gun to get it serviced, or in the moment that the dot breaks and you need the gun in action right now?
In the moment that the dot dies for any reason, you can fall back on your what's that?
This is a representation of what I see when I sight up on my CZP09 without the dot, or my CZ Scorpion with a red dot without the dot turned on. That little thing right there is the front sight post.
Right.
Center it in the center of this body, and guess what you've just done? You just turned your red dot into a big ass ghost ring.
I can see it. That's on your CZ though, right?
Well, this is on my Scorpion, but
okay.
the same thought process applies to having the front sight on a red dot on a handgun. Now, far from optimal, really going to be rough to make good hits at long range, but in the moment, I can accept this as an alternative to that traditional front sight, rear sight. I can accept that as a substitute. That's going to be a personal decision. I am okay with that, not on my primary carry gun, though. On my primary carry gun, I probably won't have a red dot, and it has nothing to do with reliability at this point, because I'm pretty well convinced red dots are reliable enough. It really, at this point, comes down to the fact that I don't want any more junk poking me in the junk.
And that's the thing, though, is I guess I really want you to try out my setup, because I forget that I have a red dot on my pistol sometimes, because when I'm carrying it, I'm more concerned about the mag printing than the sight. You don't even feel that with the right holster.
I would be curious to try your setup. My problem is, like you and I've talked about, like my problem is that it gets so much. It's hotter for so much longer down here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm carrying in an inside the waistband holster almost year round.
Yeah.
wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah,
So if it's the winter over here and I have a hoodie on, I could carry with impunity and an outside the waistband holster and be nice and comfortable. But it's just not reasonable most of the year. I mean, that. Trust me, all of you that have true winters and they last for a while, I am envious of your ability to carry howitzers and cannons under your clothes comfortably. But down here in the dirty South, we just don't get that option.
Well, the thing I found with my pistol, with my setup, is the sweat guard that you can get on these holsters. You can get an optional sweat guard, and it basically, all the sweat guard is it makes it so that it is the Kydex cut low, medium, or high up on the slide. And I found that I've tried low or no sweat guard, and I will never go no sweat guard, even though in Michigan, like, our summers are only a few months long, and we only get maybe a handful of really, really hot freaking fall sweaty days. I will not go without the sweat guard, because it just, the way even in the winter, like if I lived in freaking someplace year round winter, it's just that Kydex, it helps with the chafing of your skin. It helps with comfortability. And that's why, like, and that helps. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I would love, next time I come down there, or you guys come up here, I'm bringing a pistol. Either way, I'm going to have a gun on me, and it'd be fun to have you try it out, just because I think I can change your mind.
Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I wouldn't discount it.
A fifth of whiskey says I can.
I'm not betting. I'd rather agree with you and split the fifth.
Okay. Whatever.
So, CZ Scorpion 3 or 3 plus, and this is debate you're having with yourself, which you might have solved by now.
I don't know. So you have and by the Scorpion 3, which we're talking about, the Evo 3.
Yeah.
So
Evo 3, S1,
Evo 3,
S2.
Yeah, Evo 3 or the 3 plus. So a lot, I don't want to say a lot has changed, but I mean, they did change quite a bit of things up with the 3
Lots of
plus.
little incremental changes.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, is they listen to the customer base with a lot of these changes, such as, for example, I read that the 3 plus has a little bit of a better trigger than the Evo. The grip angle, I heard, is the biggest complaint out of every single thing with the Scorpion Evo. The grip angle is the number one complaint that I've heard.
Evo S1 grip angle. The Evo S1 pistol grip was designed by sadists.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is the 3 plus, it's more of a traditional grip angle, where
it's like AR-15 almost.
Yeah, and where the safety doesn't get the ambidextrous safety, which I love. I love all of my guns are ambidextrous. Well, I can't say all my pistols are, but all of my ARs, all my rifles, some AR-15s and stuff, they're all ambidextrous. And I love the ability. I love the idea that the CZ is ambidextrous. However, the CZ Evo is the way the grip angle is. It's very uncomfortable with the safety. So a lot of people either are doing a safety delete on one of the sides, or they are doing a different grip, which you can. The 3 plus has a different grip angle, the safety is a little bit different. The biggest gripe that I heard, and honestly, it's kind of funny, because I heard people griping about the paddle, the mag release. Yeah. So CZ was like, okay, we'll go to AR style. Well, now people are griping because they're like, well, you made it so I can't use my my old CZ mags. So now that we have an ambidextrous, mind you, AR style mag release, because of the way the mag release is, now they have the little shelf that the magazine catch hits. And so you can actually, and I've been seeing a ton online about how to convert your Evo mags over. So all you have to do is get a Dremel and just Dremel it out a little bit. And it's super easy, I heard. And I cannot find online. If anybody knows the answer, please send me a message. I'm begging you, because what's stopping me from going 3 plus is not necessarily backwards compatibility, but backwards compatibility of some of the aftermarket parts. Like the rails, the rails that they make for the Evo. Can I buy an extended rail for the 3+. Like, say I want to buy, I'm going to get a suppressor
You
down
mean
the
like
road.
handguard?
Yeah, yeah. So like, I'm going to get a suppressor, a 9mm suppressor down the road. I want to be able to maybe tuck it a little bit underneath that the handguard. So now, can the handguard for the if it says Evo, can I use that same handguard and put it on 3+? Some of the parts I know, I've heard that like the grips, you can like the grips are similar, like the attach the grip is similar. I'm assuming the safety, if you want to get different safeties, I'm assuming those are similar.
The safeties are similar, but they are not compatible. I was actually looking at
Yeah.
HB Industries when you and I were talking about it. HB Industries offers safeties for the
Yeah.
3+. They are not the same as the standard 3. The grips, I believe, are the same. The charging handles are the same. The mag release is obviously completely different. Magazines are an interesting thing because the 3+'s mags still have all the same geometry and everything to work with the 3s. So they still have they still have the tab on the back to work in the 3. They still have they use the exact same bolt hole open scheme. The only difference is they have the little shelf, like you said, cut in the side for the AR style mag release. So
You can go 3+ mags you can use in the Evo, but you cannot go from Evo to 3+.
exactly.
And then
And the trigger packs I found out because you remember you and I were talking about if the 3+'s trigger was still trash. I've heard they're better, but until I get to put my fingertip on one, I don't know
but
how
nothing's
much
gonna
better
beat
is
a
better.
Timney trigger though.
Huh?
I said nothing's gonna beat a Timney trigger. Like,
But here's my spiel. Okay, here's my spiel on the Timney trigger on the Scorpion. I have ALG ACT triggers in my ARs. I have only occasionally feel this urge to upgrade to like a Geisley or something really freaking nice in my ARs. An
uh-huh.
AR trigger, no matter how trashy, is pretty freaking good as far as triggers go. You know, it's just Stoner designed a very nice trigger system. So even the really janky ones are okay. The Scorpion has the worst factory trigger I have felt short of a Tapco G2 and an AK. It is awful. It is long, it is creepy, it is heavy, it has tons of reset, tons of over travel. It is an awful, absolutely awful trigger. And I really tried to make peace with it because the biggest complaint most people have about the CZ Scorpion's trigger is it's 8.5 pounds, and I don't care if it's 8.5 pounds, as long as it was 8.5 pounds, it was nice and short and crisp with a short reset. But it wasn't. It's heavy and long and creepy, and I can't tolerate that. So I dropped a Timney in, put the 5.5 pound trigger in it, and I'm telling you, it is the single greatest change that I have made to the gun. Period. End discussion. It is a complete game changer. It turns the gun into what it should have been from CZ's factory. Period. So if the 3+'s trigger still sucks, I have it on good authority that Timney's trigger will drop directly into a 3+ if you feel the need.
So the other thing is because I do, like I said, I do want to. I have been thinking about SBR and the Scorpion. That being said, the attachments, like like stock attachments, brace attachments, are those, if it says Evo, does it work with the 3+?
HB Industries has a different. I don't know exactly the word for
Like
it.
a
The
block
rear
or
plate.
something.
Yeah, the rear
Yeah.
block. It's a different rear block, but
Right.
HB Industries has one.
Right.
And
So
once you have Picatinny on the back of that thing,
yeah.
every brace, every stock, they all attach the same way.
Right. So I mean, that's my conundrum. Is that the word?
Conundrum.
Yeah. Thank you.
Conundrum. Close
Yeah.
enough.
Close enough. Yeah, that's my issue with going 3 or Evo 3 or 3+. I'm heavily leaning towards the 3+. It all depends on the price because on CZ's website it says limited run. So I'm kind of curious on what that means, if you can still get them or not. So I actually contacted a friend of mine, FFL, and I just said, hey, can you get the 3+? If you can, how much? Because I'm looking at buying one. So yeah, or I guess I could always go 3+ micro and then just it gives me more room for a suppressor. But
I mean, I'll be honest. I got the 3 with the paddle mag with HB Industries their paddle mag release. I have no I am happy with the gun.
yeah,
I have never
oh yeah,
I have never wanted for an AR style mag release on that gun.
and
It's
really the AR style mag release isn't really the reason I'm going for the 3 Plus.
no,
Um,
it's all the other
but,
incremental changes, but
right,
but I guess my point of view is like when you look at price between that and a 3, it's going to come down to like if you get the 3, if I was going to get a 3, I know that I'd be spending money on at least a charging handle because the factory charging handle is a little on the small side. I could live with that, but that's personal preference. I'd be spending money on a grip because the grip is awful. I'd be spending money on a mag release because the factory mag release is just a little on the small shrimpy side. A little bit bigger one with a paddle makes it easier to activate quickly. But I could honestly live without those upgrades, except for the pistol grip. The one thing I could not live with was the trigger.
right.
That had to change. So if the 3 Plus is not $250 more and the trigger is better enough that you don't feel like you ever want to replace it, that the 3 Plus makes more financial sense.
So,
But if
okay,
the 3 Plus's trigger still sucks,
right.
you're still going to put a $250 Timney into that or the 3
What does
and
your Evo cost?
um
Like ballpark.
I want to say I got mine for like 1200.
See, and that's the other thing too is with 3 Plus is MSRP off of CZ's website is 1,000 for the 3
Yeah.
Plus.
It's
And
supposed to be
so,
that for the 3 too, but
right,
when you find one, you pay what they're asking. I
right,
mean,
right.
that
And
was really the problem
I
I had with that was the problem I had with getting a CZ Scorpion in the first place. I've been on the lookout for one for
right,
years, and I just couldn't find them. I couldn't find them locally. I finally found one at my buddy's gun shop, and he just happened to have one sitting on the shelf. And I don't think it would have stayed there for very long if I hadn't mentioned it.
right. Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I'm yeah, I'm torn, and I think it's going to come down to if it's like, hey, I have the Scorpion Evo 3 or the 3 Plus. I can get the Evo, but I can't get the 3 Plus or whatever. It's going to be, I don't know.
I'll tell you honestly, I think if you got a 3, with the understanding you were going to drop $300 worth of mods into it,
Yeah.
notwithstanding an optic, that if you went into it with that idea, you'd be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you get the 3 Plus, it has to be competitively priced, and the trigger has to be good enough that
Right.
you're not going to feel like you need to change it. Like I said, not everybody is like as much of a pain in the butt about triggers as I am, but I'm just saying like long creepy triggers like what that is like. It's the same reason I changed trigger on my AK years ago. By the way, I put an ALG Defense AKT in that because the factory trigger was like long and creepy, and it irks me. I don't like long creepy triggers. I don't mind a heavy trigger as long as it's got a nice short break and a nice short reset. That's just preference.
Yeah.
And the AKT I got from ALG Defense is that, and that's why I upgraded it. And the Timney trigger and the Scorpion is that. That's why I upgraded that. So, like, to me, the trigger is going to be the breaking point in the price.
Yeah.
Because if you got to spend $1,500 for a 3 Plus, but you could get the 3 for
Right.
several $100 less, then
Right.
it's like,
No, I get
why?
that. No. Yeah, I get that. Trust me, you'll be the first person I probably text when I make the decision and get something. So
Brag to, in other words.
not brag, just get or just text. But all right, we're hour 24, so we're almost done. Home defense, pistol, rifle, shotgun, go.
Rifle.
Rifle.
Every day, twice on Sunday. I want the rifle. Now I may not be able to get to the rifle as fast as I can a pistol because, like me personally, I home carry a lot of times, and I take that pistol comes out of my pants and it goes into a secure location when I go to take my shower, and it is right by my bedside.
Mm-hmm.
The rifle takes me a little bit longer to get to, so if I hear glass breaking in the middle of the night, I might grab that pistol just because I can get the pistol up and into action faster. But if I have my pick, I'm going to take 30 rounds of 5.56 every day of the week and twice on Sunday over 15 or 16 rounds of 9mm.
Yeah.
No, no more decision to be made for me.
Yeah. No, I get that. And yeah. So my rifle. So I guess I'm lazy. So my rifle is actually it stays in my backpack. Um, and it's my vehicle gun, backpack gun. Um, but so yeah, so my shotgun actually, I have a shotgun sitting next to my bed. Funny story, I actually have the AK sitting there for right now, actually leaned up against the dresser. But I have my pistol sitting on the nightstand right next to me. So that would probably be one of the first things I grab. But definitely, as of right now, with my current setup in my house, um, it would actually be either the pistol sitting next to my head, or my Benelli, sorry, my Beretta 1301 uh, shotgun that I have loaded with buckshot, with 9 rounds buckshot, and one slug on the. It's got a oh shoot, it's called a match saver. Sitting on the, it's got a slug sitting right on the outside of the breech. So 10 rounds plus I have 1, 2, 3. Plus I have 7 more on the side saddle. So 7 more buckshot. So that would probably be, as of right now, that's what's sitting next to my bed. When I change some things around, I've been considering changing some things around. So the rifle might go next to the bed, next to the shotgun. Honestly, who cares? YOLO, America. More the better. But as of right now, yeah, right now it's the shotgun.
Yeah, I've never been a shotgun person.
You need to come up here and take a shotgun class with me.
See, that's the funny thing is when I tell people I'm not a shotgun person, they assume I don't know how to shoot a shotgun.
Oh
I've
no, no,
actually,
I know you
I've,
know how to shoot a shotgun. I'm just saying, Trek's shotgun class, dude. That class made me want to have a shotgun around the house more often. It was freaking fun.
I mean, honestly, that probably needs to be like the next thing I look at is a good 12 gauge just to kind of round out the collection. But
We're at a
I'm
13.
just gonna say, like, I've been shotgun shooting before. I can hit them.
I
That's
know
not a problem. I just don't. I don't know. Just not a shotgun person.
Beretta 1301. I love a good Benelli. My friend has a Benelli. Love it. But man, that Beretta 1301, that thing freaking is a powerhouse. Like, I ran a class with that, and holy crap, it's a good shotgun.
This
Full
should be a quick one.
full all day.
Full with a caveat. I store every gun in this house condition 3. Condition 3 is full mag, no round chambered. In that magazine that lives in that gun, I download them 1 or 2 rounds, depending on what we're talking about here. Just so there's a little bit less pressure when they're shoved up against a closed bolt.
Are you talking rifle?
I'm talking about everything.
Everything? So pistol.
Actually, no. Caveat, I stand corrected. My CZ handgun that I daily carry, I don't download that because that gun does not, you don't have to like really whack that magazine hard to get it to seat on a closed slide. And I don't have that issue on my CZP09 either. I used to when I still had the factory 19 round mags. I had to download that to 18 because you couldn't get it to seat with a full 19 round mag on a closed slide.
Mm-hmm.
When I put the base pad, the +2 base pads on, now I can put 20 rounds in the mags and just tap them and they go up against a closed slide. So that's not a problem. But mostly with my ARs, I download my ARs. The magazine that stays in the rifle, I download 2 rounds. The magazine that stays in, I don't know. I don't download all of them. It's a situational thing. If I feel like I have to really beat the magazine into the gun on a closed bolt or closed slide, I'll download it 1 or 2 rounds. If it locks up nice and gentle, without a lot of excessive force, I'll top it off to the brim. But every magazine that is in the house for a reload that is not sitting in a gun stays locked and loaded all the time, every day. I do not believe in having empty magazines in the house because empty magazines do no good.
Hmm.
That's like a car with no gas in it.
It's paperweight.
It's paperweight. I mean, look, I've never heard a person, and by the way, I'm quoting a combat vet, but he told me, he said, I've never heard a person complain they had too much ammunition in a firefight. It's because it's never happened. So I look at it as on the worst day of your life where you need every bullet in every gun ready to rock and roll to save your life, you don't need to start wondering about which mags were empty and which mags were full because you bought in some internet nonsense about your springs getting soft over the years.
Right.
That's not how that works. Just load every magazine to the brim, and then if you feel like you want to download a magazine that lives in a gun, 1 or 2 rounds, go for it. If the difference between 30 rounds in an AR mag and 28 rounds saved your life, you can haunt me from the afterlife. But I'm telling you, you're probably going to be just fine with the 28 rounds and the 30 more in every magazine ready to go.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat, really. I have. I don't believe in like my pistols. I've never had issues with my pistols getting them to if I do a reload to where the slide is locked, the slide is closed. I've never had an issue with the mag not seating. I have had an issue with the mag seating on a closed bolt with an AR at 30 rounds. So that being said, I'm in the same boat. All my mags are downloaded to 28, except for the mag that is actually in my rifle all the time, and that one was loaded to 30 because I charged a round immediately after, and so now it's got 29 plus 1 in the chamber, so I'm still at 30. All the other ones are loaded to 28, just in case whatever kind of reload you need to do. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. I believe the same thing. So,
But we agree, empty magazines are really stupid.
oh yeah, no, I definitely, I would not store empty mags. I mean, the only reason I might have empty mags is if I think I have like 10 or 15 AR-15 mags loaded, and I have like I think 5 or so, if not more, that are still like brand new in the wrapper, like in the plastic still, just
I'll
for
give you that
selling
one.
purposes or whatever. Like I might just have those sitting around. But no, other than that, no, loaded. Other than that, this is where you and I are going to butt heads because I don't clean my guns ever. Like, I mean, I can't say ever because I do eventually, but I never clean them immediately after. I like to see maybe. Okay, let me backtrack.
Let me backtrack.
I'll clean my carry pistol after the range trip. But my rifle, shotgun, all my other pistols, if I use like my Mosin, very corrosive ammo, I will clean that one. But other than that, some of my pistols that I'm not carrying them. They're not in my rotation. Some of my pistols, like I kind of want to see the failing point on them. And let's just say I've gotten to where I've gotten enough rounds down the pistol to where I've gotten like, you know what, I'm just gonna clean it, and I've never had a failing point on my pistols because I'll end up cleaning them eventually. But no, I don't clean them after every single trip.
I clean my guns every single time they come out to the range, and if they haven't gone to the range in a while and I'm sitting around bored one day, I'll just start pulling random guns out and cleaning them. For a couple of reasons. First of all,
Humidity.
yeah, super humid environment down here. Yeah, I know you have humidity up where you live, but you came down here in the nice time of the year. It is currently August 31st. Is hot outside and it's very humid. Stewart is getting a good dose of the weather I get because we're at about the same latitude, but It is crazy hot down here and very humid. So you got to keep some oil on these stupid things or they'll just turn to rust in your safe. That's problem number one. Problem number two is cleaning is not just vanity. It's not the fact that a couple of specks of carbon should shut a gun down, because I don't really want a gun in my life that's that temperamental that you can, just the tiniest little vestige of carbon will shut it down. I don't want those guns. I don't have safe queens of range toys and race guns. I don't do that. But every time I tear a gun down, I'm cleaning it and I'm looking. I'm looking for wear. I'm looking for shedding metal. I'm looking for problems that aren't problems yet, but they might become problems. The first AR I built, after about 2 or 3 range trips, I sent a friggin' message to you and Matt Kritzberg because I noticed some very odd wear pattern on the cam pin. Turned out to not be a big deal, but it was still something I noticed because I was tearing the bolt apart, and I looked and I'm like, that was not there last time I pulled this thing apart. Now, I'd never had an AR pattern firearm that new. Like I said, the one I got in Iraq was kind of a dog, so it'd probably gone way past that point and stopped shedding metal. But that's what I tell everybody about cleaning firearms regularly. It's not required. It's not vanity. It is truly an opportunity to clear the carbon off and inspect your weapon, inspect mating surfaces, slide rails, springs, parts, and try to find a problem before it becomes a problem. If you see things misbehaving in your gun, you would much rather deal with it on your terms than its.
I agree. I do agree with you on that. That being said, like, I mean, I might not clean every single range trip, but when I do sit down and clean the gun, I'm doing exactly what you're doing. I'm looking at the bolt carrier group. I'm tearing the bolt carrier group completely down. I'm looking through I'm looking down the barrel. Like, I'm looking to see, okay, hey, is there any pitting going on?
Yep.
Is there anything going on? I'm looking at the trigger. I'm looking at the hammer. I'm looking at the buffer spring, the buffer weight. I'm looking at all that stuff in my AR. With the pistols, I'm looking at, okay, how are my slides wearing? Are my things loose, or is something loose? Is the pins loose? Is there unneeded wear in the slide? I'm also I wouldn't say not every time I clean it, but every couple, maybe 2 or 3 times, I completely break the slide down, all the way down. I'm pulling all the guts out of the slide, and I'm looking at, okay, what's the firing pin look like? Is it okay? It looks like it's getting rounded right here. I'm going to keep an eye on that. I'm looking at springs. I'm looking at all that stuff. And
here's a good one for you. I came home from a range trip with my my AR pistol that has the Streamlight light on it.
Yeah.
And while I was cleaning stuff, I just happened to hit the pressure pad, and the light didn't light up.
Yeah.
And as I was holding it, and I was trying to diagnose the problem, I realized that if I shook the wire between the pressure pad and the light, it would start blinking. So I'm like, okay, so I have an intermittent short. And lo and behold, you know what I found out through process of elimination is that if you tightened up the tail cap on the stupid light, it works better.
Yeah.
So the tail cap that connects to the pressure pad had just backed its way off a half a turn, and that was all it took to make that light intermittent. So it's one of those things of, if I had just taken the gun from the range trip, stuck it straight back in the safe, I wouldn't have known about it until the bump of the night where I need the stupid light to work. So that's always my greatest argument for clean your guns every range trip, is just a chance to inspect them and make sure they're still working. And if clean your guns means literally wipe them down, wipe the inside of them out, wipe the outside down, spit in the chamber, and make sure everything still behaves well, make sure your safeties function, make sure the gun, do a function check on the fire, make sure the trigger breaks and resets. Like, cleaning a gun can be a 45-second to a minute process. It doesn't have to be an hour in the garage with white gloves and dental picks. It doesn't have to be all that. No. I mean, it can be if you just like cleaning guns, but to get the goal of cleaning a gun is to get in and get out as quickly as possible, not do any damage, and make sure the gun still operates as you expect.
Hmm.
So
And
that's what I try to tell people is when I say clean your gun every time, it like let's level set expectations. The expectation is that when you're done, the gun still functions and is ready to be stored.
yeah,
That's all.
yeah, and that's the thing is like with firearms and stuff. I mean, if it's rain, like if I'm at the range and it's been raining out, or I go shooting, and I mean here in Michigan with the snow and stuff like that. With the snow, you get a lot of the moisture and all that stuff, but you also, depending on where you're shooting, um, I mean, there's salt in the air too, just
Oh
because like
yeah.
you know, so you're picking up that salt and you're picking up that moisture. So it doesn't hurt if it's raining out. I'll definitely, as soon as I get home, I'll wipe my gun down. I'll clean it. I'm not a savage like that. Like I want to take care of my guns. But I mean, and everybody should be doing, no matter if you clean your gun or you on your way to the range, you should always inspect your gun every time you pull it out of the safe. That's one of the things that's really cool about like one of Trek's class, like all of Trek's classes really is they do an inspection of your gun. Like they show, hey, we need to like look at this sight, we need to look at this red dot, we need to look at all this stuff. Like my shotgun, after doing the shotgun class, I got home and and I did clean it after the class because I ran like 100 something rounds of number 7 through it plus buckshot. But I found 100 something rounds. My light was loose. My red dot was not loose, but the mount was loose. Like it's crazy. I mean, that's a lot of recoil. So there were some things that I had to go through, and I'm like, okay. So I took the torque wrench out, or the screwdriver rather, and I torqued everything back down to where the proper torque and everything. I, Apparently, blue Loctite wasn't holding, so I'm going to be looking at probably red Loctite on some of this stuff.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
Talk to me off. Talk to your mechanic buddy offline. You don't want to go playing with red Loctite. You will regret your life decisions later.
oh man, I don't know. Blue didn't hold, so
Talk to your mechanic buddy afterwards. You don't want to go playing with red Loctite.
but no,
Red Loctite might as well be a welding torch in the wrong hands.
yeah, right. No, so no, other than that, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. But hour and 42. So
Hour 42. I
yeah,
think we were a little overly ambitious on this one.
I know. It was fun though. But no, everybody, when this comes out, like Phil said, this is gonna be a couple weeks from when we're recording it. But hope everybody has a good September. I was reading that September is preparedness month,
I read that
I think.
someplace.
So hopefully, just get your preps in order. Uh, and I mean, this is going to be halfway through September when you hear this podcast, this episode. But no, make sure your preps are in order. A lot of crap is being said, political wise, and a lot of things are coming down the pipe politically, and things are going to get scary. I mean, it's going to get interesting this winter over the next year. So just have things in order. Take care of your friends. Take care of your family. Take care of yourself. But that being said, I got nothing else.
I just got one thing. There's no such thing as preparedness month. There's 12 of them.
Right?
You should be doing preparedness. If you do preparedness right, preparedness isn't an activity, it's not a hobby. It's a mindset, it's a lifestyle. And if you do this right, you should be doing preparedness every day from now till your last.
Mhm.
You do it because you're a preparedness minded person. It's like breathing. You don't ask a fish why they swim the oceans because they're a effing fish. Well, we're effing survivalists. We're preppers. This is what we do. So there's not a month for prepping. That's a month. That's prepper month for everybody else. For us, it's just September. Enjoy
Right.
the weather, guys. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.